Humanity never forgets its allies. Their gratitude can move planets or two. 3 centuries of remembrance, Jiho walked through the memorial garden at dawn, as he did every morning. The statues rose around him like crystal trees, each one depicting a Velthir in their natural stance. The real aliens had been dead for nearly 300 years, but these monuments kept their memory alive. Children came here on school trips, artists sketched them, lovers met beneath them. The Velthir had become part of human culture, woven so deeply into daily life that most people could not imagine a world without their story. He stopped at the central fountain, where water flowed over a replica of the crystal archive the Velthir had left behind. Jiho had devoted his entire life to studying that archive. He could read Velthir script better than most humans could read their own languages. He had listened to their music until he could hum their melodies. He had studied their history, their wars, their peace, their dreams. The Velthir Memorial Institute had been his home for 40 years. He was its director now, overseeing a staff of 200 researchers dedicated to one purpose: finding the Velthir. Humanity had been searching since the day they left. Every deep space probe carried Velthir greetings. Every new colony scanned neighboring systems. Every exploration ship followed possible trajectories. 300 years of searching. Nothing. Jiho sometimes wondered if the Velthir had died out there in the dark between stars. Their ships failing, their people fading. The thought made him sick. Humanity owed them everything. Earth was paradise now, restored beyond its former glory. 17 colony worlds thrived across nearby systems. Humanity had developed faster than light travel, cured diseases, ended poverty, all because the Velthir had given them time, and they could not even say thank you. His tablet chimed. A message from Captain Yoon, commander of the exploration fleet preparing to launch next month. She wanted to meet. Jiho smiled. He had been hoping she would contact him. They met in his office, surrounded by Velthir artifacts. Hun was young for a captain, barely 50, with sharp eyes and short black hair. She wore the dark blue uniform of the Deep Space Service, the patch on her shoulder showing Earth and 17 stars for the colonies. "Director Jiho," she said, bowing respectfully. "Thank you for seeing me." "Of course, Captain. What can I do for you?" Hun pulled up a star map on her portable display. "My fleet has been assigned to explore the outer reach sectors. Uncharted space, potentially habitable systems. Standard mission duration is 5 years, but I wanted to ask you something before we leave." She tapped the map, highlighting a region far from known space. "Is there any chance the Velthir went this way?" Jiho felt his pulse quicken. He called up his own maps, overlaying trajectory calculations he had been refining for decades. The Velthir had left Earth heading toward Galactic West. This region was consistent with their last known heading, accounting for drift and course corrections. "It is possible," Jiho said carefully. "Why do you ask?" "Because if there is any chance we might find them, I want to look." "My crew agrees. We all grew up hearing their story. Salvation Day is my daughter's favorite holiday. If we can find the Velthir, even just their grave markers, it would mean everything." Jiho felt tears threaten. Even after 300 years, humanity still cared, still remembered, still searched. "I will give you every calculation I have," he said. "Everything we know about Velthir bioships, their fuel range, their preferred star types. Captain, please find them. Please let us say thank you." 6 months later, Jiho received the transmission that changed everything. He was asleep when his emergency contact alarm screamed. He stumbled to his terminal, heart racing, fearing the worst. But Yoon's face on the screen was not sad. She looked horrified and determined. "Director, we found something. You need to see this." The images loaded slowly, transmitted across light years. A debris field. Pieces of ships, their crystal hulls shattered, drifting in the void. Jiho recognized the design immediately. Velthir vessels. "We analyzed the wreckage," Yoon said. "It is nearly 300 years old. There was a battle here. The Velthir were attacked. More images. Weapon signatures. Analysis of the damage. Evidence of another species. Aggressive and violent. The attackers were called the Kraul, according to the few records Yoon had found in the debris. A reptilian species that viewed other life as threats to be eliminated. Jiho could barely breathe. The Velthir had not died peacefully in their sleep. They had been hunted. "There is more," Yoon said. "We followed the trail. Director, we found them. We found the Velthir." The next transmission took 3 days to arrive. When it came, Jiho gathered his entire staff to watch. A small moon orbiting a dead star. Scans showed underground caverns, life signs, and power signatures. Velthir biosignatures. Thousands of them. Yoon's fleet approached cautiously, broadcasting greetings in the Velthir language. It took hours for a response to come. The voice that answered was weak, speaking through old translation technology. Who calls to us? Who knows our tongue? We are humanity, Yoon replied. We are the species you saved 300 years ago. We have been searching for you. We have found you at last. Silence on the other end. Long silence. Then something that sounded like crying. You searched for us? You remembered? We never forgot. We never stopped looking. We owe you everything. The Velthir had been hiding for 3 centuries, their population down to 3,000, living in underground caves to avoid crawl patrols. They had been dying slowly from genetic problems and lack of resources. They had assumed no one in the universe cared if they lived or died. They were wrong. Jiho watched Yoon's landing party make contact with the Velthir survivors. The aliens looked different now, smaller, their crystalline plates dull from malnutrition, but they were alive. The elder who greeted Eun was ancient, possibly one of the original refugees who had left their dying star system so long ago. Why did you come? The elder asked. We are nothing now. We have nothing to give you. Eun knelt before the Velthir elder, human and alien eye to eye. You gave us everything when we were dying. You asked for nothing in return. We came because humanity never forgets its allies. We came to bring you home. The elder's crystalline plates shifted colors, emotions playing across its body like light through water. Home? We have no home. Yes, you do, Yoon said. You have Earth. You have 17 colonies. You have humanity. Let us repay our debt. Jiho transmitted the message to Earth immediately. The response was unanimous. Every nation, every colony, every human voice spoke as one. Bring them home. Within days, the largest rescue operation in human history was underway. Hundreds of ships were being prepared. Medical teams assembled. Engineers began designing new habitats. A full planet was being prepared as a permanent Velthir sanctuary. Jiho stood in the memorial garden looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Velthir were being rescued. After 300 years of searching, humanity had found its saviors, and now the galaxy would learn what human gratitude truly meant. He touched the crystal fountain, feeling the water flow over his fingers. We found you, he whispered. We are bringing you home, just like you brought us home from the edge of death. The sun rose over the memorial, casting rainbow light through the Velthir statues. Soon, real Velthir would stand on Earth again. Humanity was about to keep its oldest promise. Humanity never forgets its allies. Their gratitude can move planets. Point 4. When gratitude becomes wrath. The first battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 12 human ships were destroyed and 3,000 crew members were dead. The Crawl lost only 2 vessels. The galaxy watched and assumed humanity would surrender now. Having learned the price of defying the Empire, they were wrong. Admiral Hana stood in her damaged command center, blood running from a cut on her forehead, and gave the order to rebuild and prepare for the next engagement. Around her, engineers were already working on repairs. Medical teams carried away the wounded. No one talked about surrender. No one even mentioned retreat. A young tactical officer approached, his uniform torn and burned. Admiral, the Crawl are broadcasting. They say they will accept our surrender if we give them the Velthir within 24 hours. Send our response, Hana said. Tell them humanity does not trade in lives. Tell them to come and try again. The officer's hand shook as he transmitted the message, but his voice was steady. Every human in the fleet had grown up learning the Velthir story. Every child had celebrated Salvation Day, the holiday marking when the aliens had saved humanity. These were not abstract history lessons. The Velthir were as much a part of human culture as any human hero. On New Velthir Prime, Elder Silthera watched the battle reports with growing horror. She was 340 years old, one of the last Velthir who had actually been present when they saved Earth. She remembered the dying planet, the desperate humans, the choice her people had made. She had never imagined this would be the result. They are dying for us, she said to Hee-jin, who was coordinating refugee care between managing defensive preparations. Thousands of humans dead, for 3,000 Velthir. This is wrong. We should surrender ourselves to stop the killing. He-Jin stopped what she was doing and turned to face the ancient alien. With respect, Elder, that is not your choice to make. Humanity decided. We will protect you. That is not negotiable. But why? We saved you 300 years ago. The debt is paid. More than paid. This is not about debt anymore, He-Jin said gently. This is about who we are. The Velthir taught us that kindness matters more than survival, that helping others is more important than helping yourself. If we abandon you now, we lose the thing that makes us worth saving in the first place. Silthara's crystalline plates shifted through colors of grief and confusion. Your species is insane. Yes, He-Jin agreed, smiling. But we are your insane species, and we do not abandon family. The war continued. The Kraul expected humanity to break after a few battles like every other species they had conquered, but humans kept fighting. When the Kraul destroyed human colonies, humans rebuilt them and launched counterattacks. When conventional weapons failed, human scientists invented new ones. When ships were destroyed, new vessels were built in weeks instead of months. Commander Doyen led special operations deep in Kraul territory. His team was small, only 20 soldiers, but they moved like ghosts. They sabotaged supply lines, destroyed ammunition depots, and freed slaves from conquered worlds. The Kraul had never faced this kind of warfare. They were used to straightforward conquest, not guerrilla tactics and asymmetric warfare. Doyen's team rescued a group of slaves from a Kraul mining operation. The freed prisoners were from 6 different species, all assumed lost. When they asked why humans were risking their lives to save random aliens, Doyen answered simply, "Someone saved us once. We remember. We pay it forward." Word spread across the galaxy. Species began to whisper about humanity. This young civilization fighting a war not for conquest or resources, but for honor, for gratitude, for moral principle. It was unprecedented. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions every week, watching the war unfold. The Kraul were winning on paper. They had more ships, more weapons, more experience. But they were not winning quickly. Humanity was making them pay for every inch of space. Tae-Min, the second to bear that name, served as historical advisor to the military command. He was the great-great-great-grandson of the original Tae-Min, who had documented first contact with the Velthir. His job was to ensure every battle, every sacrifice, every moment of the war was properly recorded. He knew this conflict would define humanity's place in the galaxy. Either they would prove that honor and gratitude were worth dying for, or they would be remembered as the foolish species that threw away everything for refugees. He also knew which outcome he believed in. One night, working late in the archives, he received a message from Elder Silthara. She wanted to broadcast something to the entire galaxy. Tae-Min arranged it immediately. Silthara's image appeared on screens across thousands of worlds. She spoke in her native language, translated into hundreds of tongues, her crystalline form shimmering with emotion. I am Silthara of the Velthir. 300 years ago, my people were dying. We used our last resources to save a species we had just met. We gave them everything because we believed kindness should not die with our civilization. We expected to be forgotten within a generation. We were wrong. She paused, colors shifting across her body. Humanity searched for us for 3 centuries. When they found us, they did not simply offer shelter. They offered home. And when we were threatened, they chose to fight an empire rather than abandon us. Every human knows our story. Every child learns our names. We are not forgotten strangers. We are family. Silthara's voice grew stronger. The Kraul asked why humanity fights. I will tell you. They fight because we taught them that some things matter more than survival. They fight because gratitude is a foundation, not a transaction. They fight because they are human, and humanity never forgets its allies. This is the species we chose to save. We were not wrong. The broadcast ended. Silence fell across the galaxy. Then something unexpected happened. Small species, ones that had been conquered or bullied by larger empires, began sending supplies to humanity. Not military aid, they were too afraid for that, but food, medicine, raw materials. Anonymous donations appearing at human colonies with simple messages, for those who remember. Even some members of the Galactic Council began to question their neutrality. The Trill representative approached Sung again. We cannot offer military support, the bird-like alien said, but we can share intelligence. The Kraul have weaknesses. They are overextended. Their supply chains are vulnerable. If you target these locations, you could turn the war. Why help us now? Sung asked. Because we are tired of calculating every relationship by profit and loss, you remind us that civilization should be built on better things. You will probably still lose, but if you somehow win, the galaxy will be better for it. Sung took the intelligence and passed it to Admiral Hana. The counteroffensive began immediately. Human forces struck at Krall supply depots, choosing targets based on Trill intelligence. The Krall war machine began to strain. They had expected a quick conquest. Instead, they were locked in a grinding conflict against an enemy that refused to quit. 6 months into the war, the Krall Emperor Vorthak himself took command of the invasion fleet. He was ancient and ruthless, having personally conquered 40 different species. He did not understand how humanity was still fighting. He sent a personal message to Admiral Hana. "Why do you not surrender? You have lost thousands. Your economy bleeds. Your colonies burn. All this for 3,000 refugees who will die anyway when we crush you. Where is the logic?" Hana's response was broadcast across all frequencies. "You ask about logic, Emperor. Let me explain human logic. The Velthir saved us when we were nothing. They gained nothing from it. They simply chose kindness. We learned from them. We learned that who you are matters more than what you have. That honor is worth more than safety. That some debts must be paid no matter the cost." She paused, her voice cold as ice. "You have conquered 40 species, Emperor. How many of them fought like we do? How many refused to break? We fight because we are worth fighting for, and so are the Velthir. Come and test yourself against gratitude. Come and learn that some things are stronger than your empire." The Emperor did not respond with words. He responded with a massive assault, throwing everything at humanity's defensive line. The battle that followed would be remembered for millennia, and humanity would show the galaxy that when pushed far enough, gratitude becomes wrath. Humanity never forgets its allies. Their gratitude can move planets. Part 3. The Price of Loyalty. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, built to accommodate dozens of different species. Sung stood at the human delegation platform, surrounded by aliens who had been traveling between stars when humanity was still learning to make fire. Above her, holographic displays showed real-time translations in 40 different languages. The air smelled strange, filtered through systems designed for species that breathed everything from oxygen to methane. She hated this place. Every species here operated on cold calculation. Alliances were transactions. Friends were assets. The concept of loyalty beyond immediate benefit seemed to confuse them. Today they would be more confused than ever. The Krall representative spoke first. He was massive, 3 meters of scaled muscle and teeth. His voice a deep rumble that the translators turned into flat, emotionless words. His name was Thorvax, commander of the Krall military fleets. "The Velthir are ours by right of conquest," Thorvax said. "We hunted them for 3 centuries. They are our prey. Humanity has no claim to them. Surrender them immediately or face the consequences." Murmurs around the chamber. Several species nodded in agreement. The Krall were dangerous. No one wanted to fight them over refugees. Sung stepped forward, her voice amplified across the vast space. "The Velthir are not property. They are people. They saved humanity when we were dying. We will not surrender them to their murderers." "You are young species," another representative said. This one was Quellen, a floating jellyfish-like creature from a water world. "You have been in space for only 300 years. You do not understand galactic politics. The Krall are powerful. They have destroyed civilizations for less than this insult. Then they can try to destroy us." Sung replied calmly. "We will not abandon our allies." More murmurs. Shocked this time, species did not talk to the Krall this way, not if they wanted to survive. Back on Earth, Hyojin was working 20-hour days overseeing the Velthir relocation. She was chief engineer for the Sanctuary World Project, a planet designated New Velthir Prime. They were building cities designed specifically for Velthir physiology, growing crystal gardens, creating atmospheric conditions that matched their old homeworld. The first wave of Velthir refugees had already arrived. Hyojin watched them emerge from the transport ships, blinking in the sunlight, their dulled crystal plates slowly beginning to shine again as they received proper nutrition and medical care. Many were crying. Some collapsed from emotion, unable to believe they were safe. One elder approached Hyojin, moving slowly on ancient limbs. Why do you do this? The Velthir asked. Your people lose resources. You risk war. We are not worth this. Yijin knelt down, meeting the alien's clustered eyes. You saved our entire species when you gained nothing from it. You taught us what real kindness looks like. How could we do any less for you? The elder's plates shifted through colors Yijin had learned meant profound emotion. Most species would have forgotten us in 3 years. You searched for 300. I do not understand humans. That is okay, Yijin said, smiling. We do not always understand ourselves. But we know this. Humanity never forgets its allies. The ultimatum came 2 weeks later. The Krall gave humanity 30 days to surrender the Velthir or face total war. They sent images of destroyed worlds, species that had defied them and paid with extinction. The message was clear. Give up the refugees or die trying to protect them. Every human government held emergency sessions. The debate was fierce. Some argued for compromise, finding a middle path that would save both humanity and the Velthir. Others demanded they stand firm. The vote came down to a simple question. Who were humans supposed to be? The decision was unanimous. Not a single vote for surrender. Captain Yoon stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching military vessels gather around New Velthir Prime. Hundreds of ships, thousands of crew, all volunteers. Everyone knew what was coming. The Krall had never lost a war. They were brutal, experienced, and vastly outnumbered humanity's forces. None of that mattered. A young officer approached Yoon, barely old enough to serve. Captain, why are we doing this? I mean, I know the Velthir saved us, but that was 300 years ago. None of us were alive then. Why die for ancient history? Yoon looked at the officer, seeing the fear and confusion in her eyes. Because if we forget the Velthir, we forget who we are. They taught us that kindness matters more than survival. That some debts must be paid no matter the cost. If we abandon them now, we are not humans anymore. We are just another species fighting for resources. But we might lose everything. Yes, we might. But we will lose it with honor. Yoon pointed at the Velthir sanctuary world below. Those people down there are alive because someone chose to be kind when it did not benefit them. We exist because of that choice. How can we refuse to make the same choice now? The officer nodded slowly, fear fading into determination. For the Velthir. For the Velthir, Yoon agreed. Back at the Galactic Council, Sung received word that several species wanted to speak with her privately. She met them in a secured room, away from Krall surveillance. We do not understand you, one representative said. A bird-like species called the Trill. You risk extinction for refugees you owe nothing. We owe them everything, Sung corrected. That was 300 years ago. The debt is old. Most species would consider it paid simply by offering the Velthir shelter. Humanity does not measure debts by age. The Velthir saved us when we could offer nothing in return. We will protect them now no matter what it costs. The Trill representative tilted its head, feathers rustling. This is not logical. The Krall will destroy you. Maybe. But we will make them pay for every life. And the galaxy will know that humanity keeps its promises. Silence. Then another representative spoke. This one was ancient, part of a species that had been spacefaring for 10,000 years. No species has ever fought the Krall for moral reasons. Always it is for territory or resources or revenge. You fight for gratitude, for honor. The galaxy has not seen this in many ages. Then the galaxy has forgotten what matters, Sung said. The ancient alien made a sound like wind chimes. Laughter, perhaps. Perhaps it has. This will be interesting to watch. If you survive, humanity will change everything. If you fail, at least you fail with honor. We will not fail, Sung said, because we are not fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for the people who taught us what it means to be worthy of being saved. The 30 days passed. The Krall fleet arrived at the human border, massive beyond imagining. Dreadnoughts the size of moons, fighter craft that numbered in the tens of thousands, weapons that could crack planets. Humanity's fleet looked small by comparison. But they did not retreat. The last transmission before the battle came from Admiral Hana, named after her ancestor who had first met the Velthir 3 centuries ago. She broadcast on all frequencies, making sure every species in the galaxy could hear. To the Krall Empire and all who witness, humanity stands with the Velthir. We will not abandon them. We will not forget them. Come and test whether gratitude is stronger than conquest. Come and learn why humanity does not forget its allies. The Krall responded with weapons fire. The war began, and humanity showed the galaxy what happened when you threatened their friends. Humanity never forgets its allies. Their gratitude can move planets. Part 5, The Planet That Moved. The Battle of the Sanctuary Line lasted 14 days. Emperor Vorthak threw every ship he had at humanity's defensive positions around New Velthir Prime. The Krall fought with brutal efficiency, wave after wave of assault craft and dreadnoughts hammering against human lines. Humanity fought with something the Krall had never encountered: absolute refusal to yield. Admiral Hana coordinated the defense from her flagship, now held together more by repair patches than original hull. Around her, the fleet was battered but unbroken. Every time a ship fell, another moved to take its position. Every time a line weakened, volunteers rushed to reinforce it. On the 5th day, Hana's communications officer received a strange transmission. It was from deep space beyond the battle zone. Ships were approaching. Many ships. For a moment, Hana feared the Krall had called reinforcements. Then she saw the identification codes. Trill vessels, Quellan waterships, even ancient species that had not fought a war in 10,000 years. They were not coming to fight, but they were coming to observe, to witness. The galaxy was watching humanity make its stand. On the 10th day, Commander Doyen's Special Operations Team achieved something impossible. They infiltrated the Emperor's command ship and stole battle plans showing the Krall's entire strategic network. The data was transmitted to every human vessel, and suddenly humanity could see the enemy's next moves before they happened. The tide began to turn, not through superior numbers or better weapons, but through perfect knowledge and desperate courage. Human forces started winning engagements. Krall casualties mounted. The invincible empire was bleeding. On the 14th day, Emperor Vorthak called for ceasefire. The Galactic Council chamber was packed. Every species sent representatives, even ones that normally avoided council politics. Everyone wanted to witness the peace talks between humanity and the Krall Empire. Sung stood at the human platform, exhausted but composed. Across from her, Emperor Vorthak towered over his own delegation, his reptilian face unreadable. Between them, neutral mediators tried to find terms both sides could accept. The Krall demanded territorial concessions. Humanity demanded reparations for unprovoked aggression. The negotiations deadlocked immediately. Hours passed with no progress. The Emperor would not admit defeat, and humanity would not compromise the Velthir's safety. Finally, Sung requested a recess. She needed to consult with Earth. What happened next would change everything. Jiho had not been idle during the war. While humanity fought, the Velthir Memorial Institute had been working on a project that seemed impossible. They had taken the terraform technology the Velthir had gifted humanity 3 centuries ago and pushed it beyond anything imagined. They had built engines that could move a planet, not just shift its orbit slightly, actually move it through space, continents and oceans intact, atmosphere held in place by massive field generators. It would take decades to reach a destination, but it could be done. The math worked. The engineering was sound. New Velthir Prime was the test subject. When Sung returned to the negotiation chamber, she brought with her a live feed. Every screen in the council chamber lit up with the same image: New Velthir Prime from orbit. Around the planet, massive structures were activating, built in secret during the 18 months of war. Members of the Galactic Council, Sung said, her voice carrying to thousands of watching species. Humanity has a statement to make regarding the Velthir. The engines fired. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then instruments detected it. New Velthir Prime was accelerating. Slowly, impossibly slowly, but accelerating. The entire planet was beginning to move. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Species shouted in dozens of languages, demanding to know what they were seeing. Even the ancient mediators looked stunned. Sung waited for silence, then continued. 300 years ago, the Velthir used their last resources to save humanity. They gave us terraform technology that restored our dying world. We have spent 3 centuries advancing that technology. Now we use it to protect them. The feed showed calculations appearing on screen. Trajectory lines showing New Velthir Prime's path through space. Its destination, Earth's solar system. It would take 30 years to arrive, but it was already moving. We are bringing New Velthir Prime to Earth orbit, Sung announced. The Velthir will live beside us permanently. If anyone wants to threaten them, they must go through humanity's homeworld first. We are literally moving a planet to keep our promise. Emperor Vorthak stared at the screens, his expression shifting through disbelief to something that might have been respect. You would spend resources on this scale for 3,000 refugees? They are not refugees, Sung said firmly. They are family, and humanity protects its family. Elder Silthera was in the council chamber, having been brought to witness the peace talks. She watched the feet of her new homeworld beginning its long journey, colors flowing across her crystalline body in patterns of overwhelming emotion. She approached the center of the chamber, moving slowly on ancient limbs, and addressed everyone present. 3 centuries ago, my people made a choice. We were dying, but we saw another species suffering. We gave them everything because we believed kindness should not end with us. We never expected gratitude. We never expected to be remembered. Her voice strengthened, translated into every language. Today, that species has reshaped the cosmos to protect 3,000 survivors. They fought an empire. They sacrificed thousands of lives, and now they move planets. Tell me, council members, would your civilizations do the same? Silence fell. Complete, total silence. Every species present was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. When was the last time any of them had fought for moral principle? When had they last honored a debt that did not benefit them? The ancient mediator spoke, its voice like wind through crystal. In 10,000 years of observing galactic civilization, I have never seen this. Species fight for territory, for resources, for revenge. But humanity fights for gratitude. They move planets out of loyalty. This is unprecedented. Emperor Vorthak stood slowly, his massive form dominating the chamber. He looked at Sung, then at Silthara, then at the images of New Velther Prime beginning its impossible journey. I do not understand your species, he said to Sung, but I recognize strength when I see it. Not military strength, something else, something my empire has forgotten. He turned to face the entire council. The Kral Empire withdraws its claim on the Velthir. They are under humanity's protection. Any who challenge this will face us both. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Emperor was not just accepting defeat. He was allying with humanity. Why? Sung asked, genuinely shocked. Vorthak's eyes, cold and reptilian, met hers. Because in 400 years of conquest, I have never seen a species willing to sacrifice everything for honor. My empire is built on fear. Yours is being built on something stronger. I would rather ally with that than oppose it. The war was over, but something more important had begun. Over the following months, something unexpected happened. Species began approaching humanity asking for alliances, not military pacts or trade agreements, but genuine partnerships built on mutual respect. The concept of debt honor started spreading across the galaxy, challenging the old transactional way of thinking. The Galactic Council restructured its charter, adding provisions about protecting vulnerable species and honoring historical debts. It was called the Velthir Protocols, and humanity insisted the aliens' name be attached to ensure they were never forgotten. Tai Min, the historian, worked tirelessly to document everything. His archives became the most visited site in known space. Species sent their young to learn the story of humanity and the Velthir, studying how 3,000 refugees changed galactic civilization. On Earth, people gathered to watch New Velthir Prime's slow approach. It would take 30 years, but they could see it in telescopes now, a bright point of light moving against the stars. Children born the day the planet started moving would be adults when it arrived. Ye Jin continued overseeing the Velthir settlement, now working with engineers from a dozen species who wanted to help. The sanctuary world had become a symbol of what galactic cooperation could achieve. Admiral Hana, aged and tired from war, retired to teach at the military academy. Her first lesson to new cadets was always the same. We are not the strongest species. We are not the oldest or wisest, but we remember. And that makes us dangerous to our enemies and invaluable to our friends. Captain Un, who had found the Velthir in their hiding place, became an explorer again, now leading missions to find other lost species. Everywhere she went, she carried the message. Humanity remembers. Elder Silthera lived to see New Velthir Prime enter Earth orbit. She was nearly 400 years old by then, one of the last living connections to the original gift. She stood on her world's surface looking up at Earth hanging in the sky beside them, and wept. A human delegation came to welcome the planet home. Sung was there, now elderly herself. Jiho had passed away 2 years earlier, but his successor carried on his work. Young humans and Veltir stood together, two species bound by an act of kindness 3.5 centuries old. Humanity never forgets its allies. Their gratitude can move planets. Part 1. The gift of survival. The sky over Sol was the color of rust. Taman stood on the roof of the National Archives building, watching the sun set through layers of toxic clouds. He held a small recording device in his hand, documenting what might be humanity's final years. The scientist had given Earth 5 years at most. Maybe less. Everything was dying. The oceans were too warm, the soil too poisoned, the air too thin. Crops failed faster than they could be replanted. Every government on the planet had stopped pretending they could fix it. Now they just tried to keep people from panicking while they built archives in space, sending humanity's art and history into the void. Someone might find it someday. Someone might remember that humans had existed. Taman's job was to fill those archives. He had spent 3 years collecting stories, music, photographs, and films. Everything that made humanity worth remembering. It was depressing work, but someone had to do it. His wife had left for the lunar colony last month with their daughter. He had chosen to stay behind. Someone needed to witness the end. That night, everything changed. The alerts came first. Every phone, every screen, every radio began screaming warnings. Objects in orbit. Massive ones, ships, alien ships. Taman ran to his terminal and pulled up the defense network feeds. His hand shook as the images loaded. Dozens of vessels hung above Earth, each one the size of a city. They were beautiful in a strange way, built from what looked like crystal and dark metal, flowing organic curves instead of hard angles. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and the timing could not be worse. Commander Hana was already on the emergency broadcast when Taman tuned in. She was head of Earth's defense forces, a stern woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She looked afraid, which terrified Taman more than the ships themselves. "We have attempted contact," Hana said, her voice steady despite everything. "They are responding. The translation is rough, but they say they mean no harm. They are asking permission to approach. We have granted it. God help us all." 3 hours later, Taman stood in the landing zone with 200 other officials, scientists, and soldiers. Everyone had weapons except him. He had only his recording device. If humanity was about to end, he would document it. The alien ship descended without sound, settling onto the tarmac like a falling leaf. A door opened in its side and figures emerged. Taman caught his breath. They were like insects, but massive, standing nearly 3 meters tall. Their bodies were covered in crystalline plates that caught the light and split it into rainbows. 6 limbs, 2 used for walking, 4 that seemed to shift between arms and legs as needed. Their heads were triangular, with clusters of dark eyes that glittered like gems. They moved with slow grace, almost floating. The lead alien approached. Its voice came from a device on its chest, translated into rough but understandable Korean. "We are Velthir. We come from far stars. We are refugees. Our son died. We search for new home." Hana stepped forward, still tense. "Why are you here? What do you want from Earth?" The Velthir tilted its head. The gesture seemed almost human. "We want nothing from Earth. We stopped because we saw distress. Your planet is dying. We have technology to help. We wish to share it before we continue our journey." Silence. Complete silence. Taman felt his heart hammering against his ribs. It had to be a trick. Nothing was free, especially not from aliens humanity had just met. "Why would you help us?" Hana asked. Her hand was on her weapon. "What do you gain?" The Velthir made a sound like wind through crystal. Maybe it was sadness. "We gain nothing. Our people are few now. 3,000 survived from billions. We have resources we saved from our world, but not enough to settle safely. We could use them for ourselves. But we see you dying, and we remember when we were dying. We wish someone had helped us. No one did. Perhaps kindness should not die with our worlds." Over the next 3 weeks, Taman watched the impossible happen. The Velthir shared everything. Atmospheric processors that could clean air in months instead of centuries. Genetic seed banks that could restore plant life. Radiation shields that could protect against the solar waves that were killing Earth. Technology so advanced that human scientists wept when they saw the designs. Taman interviewed the Velthir elder, the one who spoke for their people. He asked the question everyone wanted answered. "You are refugees. You need these resources. Why give them to us? The elder's crystalline plates shifted colors, blues and purples flowing across its body. Because we are dying anyway. Our genetic diversity is too small. We will fade in a few generations no matter where we settle. These tools will not save us, but they will save you. That is enough. It does not bother you? That we will live and you will not? The elder made that wind crystal sound again. Should the last candle refuse to light others before it goes out? We were a great civilization once. We made beautiful things. We loved our families and honored our dead. All of that will be forgotten. But perhaps we can be remembered for this one thing. We saved a world. We saved a species. That is a good ending for the Velthir. Taman felt tears on his face. He was not alone. Many humans were crying now, overwhelmed by kindness from strangers who owed them nothing. The Velthir stayed for 6 weeks, teaching human engineers how to use their gifts. Then they prepared to leave. They left behind a single archive, a crystal containing their history, culture, music, and art. Everything they had been. Taimin stood with thousands of others as the Velthir ships lifted into the sky. Hana was beside him, no longer afraid. She was crying too. "We will remember you," Hana said, broadcasting on all frequencies, hoping the Velthir would hear. "Humanity will remember. We promise." The ships disappeared among the stars. Taman held the crystal archive against his chest like a precious child. His new mission was clear. The space archives would no longer just contain human history. They would contain the story of the Velthir. Every school would teach their sacrifice. Every city would build monuments. Every child would learn the names of the species that saved them when they had nothing to offer in return. Earth began to heal. The atmospheric processors hummed to life. Plants grew again. The radiation shields held. Humanity would survive, but they would never forget the price of that survival. Taman returned to his archive building and began the work that would consume the rest of his life. He would make sure the Velthir were remembered, not as aliens, not as strangers, as the people who taught humanity what true kindness meant. The sky over Seoul began to clear. For the first time in decades, Taman saw stars. He wondered which one the Velthir had traveled to. He hoped they found peace. Humanity owed them everything.